Hello everyone, welcome to Reptiles. My name is Ryan, and I heard that you want to get into breeding leopard geckos. My first question is why? Why do you want to breed leopard geckos? I mean, let's cut the chase. Let's get to the medium rare part of this question. Are you 30? Are you bored? And do you like to complain? Because if so, this hobby is for you. If you got a wife and kids, or just like you're married, you got your little thing going on, yeah, you have nothing to do, and someone's complaining to you that you need to do something, get a hobby. Then leopard gecko breeding is for you, my friend. I'm looking at some morphs right now on Morph Market. But in all transparency, why do you want to breed leopard geckos? Here's some basic tips on or not basic interest, I guess, on why you want to breed. I'm why do I want to breed leopard geckos? They're really easy to breed. They're not hard to breed. There's a lot of variety. There's a ton of morphs, so you can choose from a lot. What you want to work from, and if you don't like this thing, that's okay. There's another morph that you can work with. I'm double checking the market right now. Market's pretty terrible. I would say that pricing, people like to price their animals really high. So I would say at the moment, leopard gecko breeding is probably a hard hobby to kind of enter into right now. It's not the fact that it's, hard to breed leopard geckos. It's more so the fact that I would say the hobby has kind of definitely taken a turn from quality to quantity and money income. A lot of people mass produce now, which is sad because these animals live in tubs for most of their lives that don't sell. And from a breeding aspect, yes, most breeders do use tubs to keep their animals in. Some don't, some do. To some degree, there's wrongs and rights to it. I'll sit back on what I say about that, just in case if there's some people out there that don't like my response. But if they do, if they don't, I don't really care. I think animal welfare and keeping your animal happy is the main thing. When you get into breeding reptiles, one thing a lot of people forget is that these are pets. They're not objects. And from my perspective, I feel like a lot of people have forgotten what it is to be a reptile breeder. What does that indicate? It means that you have a responsibility as a breeder to breed healthy animals and to make sure, as you're selling, you're selling your pet. These are pets. At the end of the day, all reptiles are pets and that are captive bred, unless they're going into a conservation or educational purpose, but they're being taken care of as a pet. So they deserve that kind of treatment. This item right here, this is $10,000. A $10,000 animal right here. Cool. I'm happy for you that you have a $10,000 snake. What's his name? But to diverge from that kind of me going spiraling out to another industry or just the whole reptile community basis, breeding leopard geckos is fairly easy. You need a male, you need a female. You do not put males together, it will kill each other. You do not put male and female to live with each other, because if the male wants to breed and she doesn't want to breed, he'll probably kill her or beat her up pretty good. There's a time and place when to breed. Time meaning it's breeding season, and for where you're located, that varies. For most of North America, it starts around February. late February, but you can play around with it. You can change the temperature in your rack or in your setup, or even if you have a reptile room, you can change the temperature in there. Um, pardon me. Depending, you can mess with the temperature, and it will trigger the animal to ovulate. Like the female's like, oh, it's time to breed. Females ovulating, they're gonna want to breed. You will get males that do not want to breed, and you'll get females that don't want to breed, and that's okay. It's just part of the journey of breeding, that you'll have the best looking animal that you produce or best looking animal that you purchase will be the one that doesn't breed. I don't know how many times it's happened to me. Countless. When you're getting into breeding, there's going to be a lot of like ups and downs. You're going to have days that, an animal's not going to want to eat. This animal's not going to want to breed. Sometimes you order an animal and like you quarantine them properly, but they're sick still. And you get cryptosporidium and it kills your entire collection. Now you got to restart. You got to clean out, take out everything. That happens. Not a lot of people do their due diligence of getting their stuff tested. I test 3 times a year. And some people might say that's excessive. I want to make sure my animals aren't sick from other people's contaminated animals. And I quarantine them for a while. I don't want any cross-contamination because cryptosporidium is really scary. Animals just kind of drop dead like flies. And it's definitely a thing when it happens to you, you're like, well, shit, do I even want to keep these animals anymore? Pardon my French. What is this one? What are we looking at now? There. The computer was kind of dying on me for a second. I want to keep this open though, just so I can kind of give off some, at least ideas of what you're looking at as far as what you want to breed. Like popular morphs, you probably have a lot of questions about, oh, what should I breed? What do they eat? How should I care for them? There's a lot of good videos for care guides out there, so I'm not going to go over everything for that. Feeding wise, I feed a variety of mealworms, superworm, dubia roaches, sometimes waxworms, and hornworms if they really need to bulk up, or I'm just giving them a treat. Calcium and vitamins is a necessity. Food and water. Leopard geckos do not like lighting. You can have like normal, like white light on them. You cannot have any type of heat lamp on them though. The way that their biology is designed, they have tubercles. Tubercles are like scales. They have a different type of beta carotene protein that produces that. And because of that, they're not a basking lizard or gecko. However, geckos and lizards, it's an off branch. But they don't bask in the wild. They do crawl around. You'll see them out in like dusk and dawn. They'll be outside, but they're not going to be sitting there. That's not where they intake their heat from. They get their heat from their belly. So you use heat pads for them, or heat tape, whatever you want to use. I don't recommend heat cable because it has a high chance in getting a house on fire, or wherever you're at. High chance in a fire. It's a fire hazard. You want to make sure temperatures are always optimal. Make sure the animal's hydrated. A lot of it is just basic care, making sure the animal is okay. But when you get into breeding, choose a morph or genetic trait that you're okay and comfortable kind of messing with. For beginners, I recommend just polygenic stuff, so like line bred traits, like tangerines, bolds, are great things to breed because you'll always have variety. No animal's gonna look the exact same, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, this one's crazy, this one's insane. So it gives you that kind of edge of, you can make a lot of different animals. And it's basic because there's no heterozygous genes, there's no recessives, no dominant traits and complete dominance. Super forms, you don't want to get into that yet. Unless you do your due diligence and study up on how genetics work. I can say this, I've been breeding for 13 years now. Not only leopard geckos, I've worked with ball pythons, I've worked with frogs, beetles, I've worked with ants. I helped legalize the import for rhinoceros beetles and stag beetles in the US. And from that whole experience is that, what am I trying to say? Morphs and genetics, yes. Genetics with everything is important. At the end of the day, you need to know your genetic history. Basic biology is something that you should really consider before breeding reptiles, especially animals like leopard geckos are easy, but you have some really petty people that like to name everything, and they think it's new. It's not how genetics work, or just like how it really confuses a hobby or just like group of people when you're naming everything that might look different. Everything's going to look different, and you can test it with genetics and like chromosomal scanning, stuff like that. That's expensive. So if you have the money to do chromosomal scanning to test for this animal's het for this animal's this, then yeah, it's something good. I recommend doing it. I've done it 3 times with a project that I'm working on that I'll be announcing. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but each time I scan it, the gene's popping up as dominant. But that's okay. Backlash will happen no matter what. I've been working with that project for 9 years though, outcrossing everything. So I'm fairly confident with my research with it, and it helps with my major in college anyway. I'm an oncology student, but I specialize in evolution of genetics and cancer. So I have a good understanding of how genetics work, especially when I have to deal with them every single damn day. It does not get out of my head. I am there thinking, focused on genetics. When I'm outside of work, I'm like, oh, this could be a het. That could be recessive. My brain is constantly thinking about it. But there are some genetic traits that, when you do start breeding leopard geckos, that will probably confuse you. Definitely recessives. Recessives are pretty easy though, because there's 3 types of albinos in leopard geckos. There's bell albino, tremper albino, and rainwater albino. They are separate recessives. I don't recommend breeding them together. The hobby gets really petty about it. And it's also just nice to keep 3 different recessives away from each other when they're all albinos. Because when you're mixing all 3 different kinds of albinos together, you're like, what is this albino? No one knows. Unless you want to do a scan, which if you have the money to drop on that, good for you, but no one wants to buy an animal that is mixed with a full bunch of hets, especially different albino hets. A while ago, they used to use animals like that. I'll be pretty transparent saying this. When you cross different albinos to each other with tangerines, they make really nice tangerines. Probably the best tangerines you're going to find out there. It's how a lot of them started. Like electrics, those were crosses with different albinos. Not a lot of people will probably like me saying that, but that's okay. Same thing with clowns. It's now a line that's pretty well established. In the beginning, it was a mix of random het animals. Not only tremper, not bell, not rainwaters, eclipse, a whole bunch of different shit kind of slapped into one and bred to make tangerines. I know I'm gonna get hate for that, and that's okay. Because I don't recommend you being like the producer of those animals. That's why I'm making this video, to kind of hopefully set you up in the right runway. I'm blunt. I say a lot, and that's okay. But I do want the best for upcoming breeders. I don't want them to lose the passion for animal welfare and caring for animals. And just integrity of keeping, or what that entails of integrity and like honesty. Honesty is a really big thing when you're in general in life, especially with day-to-day living, but in reptile keeping, it's a pretty big deal. If you're reliable and you're honest, people are going to buy from you, and people are going to trust you. So if you do your work and you're honest and you work your ass off, then yeah, people are going to, pardon me, recognize you for your hard work, and they're going to trust you, and they're going to know, hey, this guy or this girl or whatever, this person has really great animals and they work really hard. I trust them. I recommend you to them. A recommendation is awesome. Someone trusts you in this hobby, which is hard. I don't feel like there's a lot of good breeders out there anymore that are, honest. There's some big ones that I don't trust anymore because I've tried to buy animals from them and they somehow lose it shipping it to a wholesaler, even though you bought the animal before they sent it out. So it's a little frustrating when, you have people that you're supposed to look up to that aren't doing a good job on being responsible and being, honest. A lot of them lie. I would say this, probably one of the best as far as US breeders go, most recognizable breeder who's really, really honest is Suburban Geckos, Chris. He, a man of many talents, I would say. He probably has the best bell albinos I've ever seen. He works really hard. He's not always on, Instagram or posting geckos every day, which means that he does have an outside life, which is good. But all of his animals are high quality. He does his research with his genetics. He's been doing this for years. And he's someone that you should really consider if you aspire to want to do well in the leopard gecko hobby. He's probably one of the best examples that I want to be like Chris, or I want to do stuff like Chris, because this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's not afraid to, ask for help when he needs it, I feel like, or like make a comment, call stuff out, when, there's, integrity on the line. There was a line that he called out on, and he's like, no, that's actually wrong. You're selling to another larger breeder, calling them out for their bullshit. Not a lot of people like controversy like that, but it needs to happen when you're messing with an entire group of, future upcoming breeders. So he's definitely one to recognize and admit that Chris is probably one of the, not even probably, is one of the best leopard gecko breeders internationally. I wouldn't just say in the US or North America. He's up there for worldwide, I'd say. Then you have local breeders that are in the US. One of my closest friends, MS Farms, Micah, she's super honest, super transparent, and has high quality animals. She doesn't mass produce either, nor does Chris. But she does her time and slowly is work into these animals, and I don't know how long she's been breeding at this point. She's a really close friend of mine, and I talk to her almost every day about geckos. And if you look at her animals, they're healthy. If, she has high quality stuff, she makes sure her animals are taken care of. And that's really what you want to buy as far as like, if you're wanting to buy animals and wanting to breed geckos, make sure animals are coming from breeders that are reliable. Micah's reliable, Chris is reliable, JMG Reptiles is reliable. You probably know him from hognose breeding. If not, he's a big hognose breeder. Noble Family Homes, great breeder. Golden Stripe, Bold and Bright, both of them are phenomenal. Bubba's Gecko Emporium or Reptile Emporium, David, I'm not sure if he's continuing breeding, but he is an amazing individual. I love him to death. It's a really great guy to talk to. For example, the clowns. He picked those up from Enzo's Geckos. That entire line, clown, like what is a clown? It's a like multicolored tangerine morph, so it's like an orange gecko with black, greens, yellows to them. That's a line bred trait to look like that. And David picked them up and has done phenomenal work with cleaning them up from all their heads. The producer of them, the originator of that entire gene pool of clowns, was Matt Boronik. He is a really big YouTuber on YouTube on here. He has a big influence on YouTube for breeding leopard geckos. But in the hobby, he has a really bad case of scamming people when he left the hobby multiple times. A lot of people that I knew that used to breed reptiles do not breed reptiles anymore because of him. He owes them a lot of money, for one, a lot of animals that were promised that never got sent out. At the time, he was fairly reliable, and then he kind of went downhill. It was unfortunate. I looked up to him for sure when I first started to get into reptiles, and then I had a bad experience with him with basically telling me you shouldn't breed reptiles because you're a kid, which is unfortunate. So if you are younger and you're watching this and you want to breed reptiles, I'm going to encourage you to follow your dream. Don't give any, who cares if a 40-year-old guy saying that we already have the big breeders in the world, we don't need any little kids breeding reptiles. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to anyone that's going to be like, we have enough people. If you're passionate about it, pursue it. Anything good at least. If it's anything negative, probably don't pursue it. Don't take that the wrong way. I don't want that going the incorrect way. Man, I'm looking at these animals right now on Morph Market. There's some really great breeders out here, like Kensington geckos. If you really want nice tangerines, I've known Kensington geckos too. I've spoken to them a couple times. They have really good tangerine morphs. So if you're looking to, I want nice tangerines, then Kensington geckos is a guy to hit up. Micah, MS Farms, has really, really great Max Snows. All of her animals are amazing, but she has great Max Snows. And if you want good looking Max Snows, buy them from her. I'm going to kind of diverge into price range of the market right now if you're wanting to breed leopard geckos. So the cheapest right now looks like polygenes, so tangerines and bolds. They vary from $100 to $500, which is a pretty big gap. I'm looking at these animals from infamous exotic reptiles. It's a really nice bold tangerine for $165. That's a really good looking animal. I would say that's a really fair price for an animal that looks like that. And if you're wanting to get to breeding, that's a good animal to go after for something that, you want it to look like high end. I recommend that for sure. Let's see here. Gecko Boa is a big name. He does produce a lot of animals. He's the producer of the Cypher. He does a lot of subspecies too. Some high quality looking animals for sure. I would say his prices are kind of high, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. He's been breeding reptiles for a long time. So I think that's fair that, if you have the name and if you do want to price your animals high, by all means, I'm not going to shit talk you. But I do think as a breeder and with animals that produce pretty quickly and have a lot of offspring, I don't really understand why you need to have such a high priced animal. Unless it's like really, really nice and it's one of its kind, or like a really high end animal, then yeah. But there are some animals that you could, quality wise, you could say like, this is just a bold. It's an amazing bold. All bolds are perfect, but there are some animals that are more desirable because of their looks. Would be fair to say that that's why they're priced higher. I have some books behind me, if you've noticed. I don't know how well you can see them. I'm gonna move this alligator head right here. That's not from being poached. This book here, Leopard Gecko Morphs from Ron Tremper. Ron Tremper made the Tremper albinos. That's what is notorious for. He worked with supergiants, which is a polygene. So if you think it's recessive, you're dumb. It's not how genetics work. But he's worked with a lot of morphs. He's made a lot of morphs. I would say this book is probably a good investment if you're wanting to learn morphs. There is some incorrect information in this, though. Ron was a big influence in the leopard gecko and reptile community, but he also had a bad outrun for scamming people too, lying, getting animals sick. But at the time, he was importing animals from the wild, so what do you expect? A lot of animals would have cryptosporidium, but he could have done a better job making sure that didn't happen. Ron has a 50-50, I would say 50-50, like good name, bad name. Either way, he's a staple in the reptile community, leopard gecko community, especially because he kind of made leopard geckos popular. He made the Tremper albino and people freaked out that Tremper albinos exist. He worked with bulls, bandits. There's some really good looking animals in here. Like, well, that's not a good example. That's nor desire. That's a gene that you should not play with because it's unhealthy for the animal. There's some unhealthy genes that you should stay away from. I'll probably say that real quick. Stay away from these. Lemon frost, it's genetically passed down cancer. If you breed that animal, you're an animal abuser, so you should not own any animal if you work with lemon frost, and you should probably get your brain checked out for being stupid. White and yellow is iffy. Don't breed white and yellows together, but white and yellow does have neurological problems. It's like the spider gene with ball pythons. People are like, oh, it's fine, you know. I don't really work with white and yellow. I have had white and yellow animals in the past. I don't breed them anymore though, just because of the neurological problems. There's two different lines. There's the European line. They both came from Europe, but there's two separate lines that they came from. The line that they have in Europe now is pretty healthy. I just kind of avoid them because there's that chance that, yeah, they can have problems, and it's most likely because they're inbred. Then there's Enigma. They have like a severe neurological problem from being inbred so much that they're stunning animals. Enigmas are pretty. Just look them up. But I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it on here. Or like this is an Enigma. I don't know how well you can see that with those red eyes. Enigmas are stunning animals, but yeah, they're not. Well, that's a lemon frost and Enigma. Lemon frost were pretty too, but it's not pretty when your animal's terminally ill and mass producing and inbreeding cause that. That's inhumane. It's like, come on, don't breed that. Trying to think of some others. Nor Desire, Enigma, White and Yellow, Lemon Frost, obviously. There are some that I would say to be careful with, like Supergiant. I used to breed Supergiants. I don't recommend breeding them anymore because they have a short lifespan. They're big animals, but they have the same size of organs, same heart size. They don't live long. And I feel like that's wrong to make a big gecko that doesn't get to live a comfortable life. When I first started to breed leopard geckos, that was the first thing I started to breed, and I noticed that my second year of breeding, and I was like, whoa, it's wrong, in my opinion, to work with animals that it's better to outcross them so they're not so big. But at the same time, it's like these are, they have health problems. If it has health problems, you really shouldn't be messing with it. Or clear it out. Figure a way how to clean it up. Lemon frost, though, you cannot fix that because that is hereditary. That's scientifically, medically, whatever you want to call it, it's impossible to remove that when it's linked to the genes. You cannot strip that unless you're going to do genetic coding, but it's just that one animal that has taken it out because that entire family gene has that. Load. Come on. And then there's Black Knights. Black Knights are fairly inbred. They're really small. They have a really low fertility rate, male and female. That's why you see a lot of crosses out there. If you see anyone labeling an animal as pure, don't buy from them. Here's a little insight on what pure means genetically. Pure means that this animal is just this animal, has no genetic, addition to it. So a pure leopard gecko is a macularis macularis from the wild. You could say that if it's a Tremper albino, this is a pure Tremper albino, but why are you kind of labeling that? Because all leopard geckos that we got from the wild were mixes of macularis macularis, afghanicus, montanus, turkmenicus, and fasciolatus. Probably Angramania at some point. Who knows? Not Fuscus and Hardwicke and Saprensis. That's a newer one that was discovered. These are all subspecies of leopard geckos, though. I work with subspecies, mainly with the Angramania localities. But if you want to get into breeding subspecies, that's for a whole nother video. Trying to think of what other things I guess I could say before I end this video, and you're probably like, this guy's really boring and he's just talking about geckos. I'm not showing us any. I'm currently moving right now. So all of my animals are being held from a friend, and I will be doing that video soon and a post soon about a genetic trait that I've been working with. It does suck because I reached out to a few people that I really respected, and I still respect them, but they just kind of shut it down. They're like, oh no, that's not it. But they didn't ask to see the testing. They didn't ask to see the animals, and I have proof lining it up, which sucks. And I also have proof from doing chromosomal scans that the animal's dominant, or that gene is dominant, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. I still love that person. They're great. I trust them. It's okay to disagree or to agree, especially when you're saying something kind of new or stating something new into the hobby that's already established. A lot of people don't like that, which is fair, but if you have it, it needs to happen. I would recommend this book too, if I can reach it. I'm sore. It is The Gecko Fauna of the USSR. This is for, damn, that's bright. It's for most eyelid geckos. It has great pictures in it. This is a hard copy. Has to be. It's for most terrestrial geckos, though. I've read all of this. I don't remember there being any arboreal species, so it's mainly just terrestrial, land-dwelling geckos that are on the ground. It's a really, really great book, though. Really great read, and has a lot of information and just like history of how these animals kind of like were discovered, how people picked them up into the reptile trade. It goes into some pretty deep stuff, so I really recommend it. But that's where I'll probably end this video. It's nothing special. I'm still looking at morphs, stuff on Morph Market. Everything's really expensive right now, which is unfortunate. Leopard geckos should not be that expensive for a normal, but that's okay. It'll change. But if you have any questions on how to breed, like how you set the male and female together, what should I do when breeding, what animal should I choose, I mean, it's up to you, but I'm free to talk about it. If you need help or insight, I am more than happy to help. I am a breeder for conversation. I also, I like talking about reptiles. But I will end the video here. I appreciate for anyone who's watched this, or if you have any other things that you want to comment to it. If you disagree with some stuff, that's okay. You're wrong about some things, probably about some stuff about breeders, then you're wrong. But that's okay. It's okay to be incorrect. I mean, I was heartbroken too when my idol told me not to breed reptiles and became a complete, a-hole, and scammed the entire hobby and tries to act like they never did and are selling animals that are rebranded as a different name, saying that they're new, for like $40. So yeah, mass production. Do it. Not. But thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want. Once again, I'm Ryan from Reptiles, and I'll see you in another video when I post about that whole gene stuff. So have a fantastic day or night whenever you're watching this, and goodbye.